So I'm reading again chapter 2 from I Am Albert Einstein. I'll also make this available as a digital book for students who'd like to read it on their own as well. I'll send that through email for them so they have access to it. Chapter 2 begins with the trouble with being genius. Despite the growing use of electric light, the Einstein brothers' business was not going well. Herman worked hard, but he wasn't the best businessman. They needed to find another place with more opportunity, to make money. When Albert turned 15, Herman decided the place was Milan. Moving to Italy must have been an exciting prospect for Albert. The sunny city was filled with good food and modern technology. There was only one problem. Albert wasn't moving with the rest of his family. He had to stay behind in Munich, a place that he didn't much care for, because he had to finish high school, a place that he really, really didn't care for. The decision was made, however, and that was that. So Herman and Pauline wanted their son to get their diploma. If Albert thought that school was bad before, after his family left Germany, it only got worse. He was lonely and he was miserable. In class, Albert asked even more questions, and he talked out of turn all the time. Albert, always strong-headed and sure of himself, took matters into his own hands, and he quit school. Some people say that he was actually expelled from school. After one term away from his family, his teachers didn't even protest it. In fact, they were so happy to see that troublemaker go. His parents, whom he surprised in Italy, were not happy. Without a high school degree, they worried that he wouldn't amount to much more than a daydreamer. While Albert was content to simply spend his time with his family in Italy, Herman wanted his son to be a little more productive. Since Albert was attending school, his father encouraged him to learn about the family business. He could work with his uncle on his inventions and do some for his father's bookkeeping. Albert did help out for a while, but his heart just wasn't in it. Throughout his life, he never was interested in the practical side of work. He was inspired by ideas and how far he could take them. Perhaps the experience of working with his father and his uncle motivated him to go back to school. But he found a Swiss school that was the opposite of the drill-focused German school. Albert lived with a family in Switzerland and finished high school much to his parents' relief. Albert loved Switzerland, and he decided to enroll in the physics program at the Swiss Federal Polytechnic Institute in Zurich. The future science superstar continued to be a troublemaker, annoying teachers, cutting classes, setting off an explosion in the lab after ignoring important rules. He was even flunked by a physics professor for attitude issues. In class, he might have been a rude know-it-all, but back in his room, he was in awe of the work of the greatest physicists of his time. He read everything that he could on the latest discoveries in his particular branch of science. He felt like classes weren't taking into account all the new physicists he was learning about, particularly about light. Skipping class at the Polytechnic gave Albert plenty of time to become more social and make friends, many of whom became lifelong pals. He thoroughly enjoyed sitting in cafes, drinking coffee, and debating scientific theories with his classmates. Marcel Grossman, one of his best friends, did more than just entertain Albert. A year older than Albert and an extremely organized math student, Marcel gave his friend notes from all the classes that he had been missing. If Marcel hadn't have been so generous, Albert would almost certainly have flunked out of school. While Albert was busy making friends, he also fell in love. Mileva Marek, the only woman in his class, happened to be a child prodigy in math. She was a unique person for her time, since not many women went to college or even fewer studied science and math. The couple spent long hours talking about math and science. As they hiked into the nearby Alps, Albert's curly hair was always messy, his clothes were always wrinkled, and they poorly fit him. Meanwhile, Mileva had a limp and often got sick, but neither of them cared. Some men at that time would not have wanted to be with a female scientist. But on the contrary, Albert not only supported her education, he loved studying with her. Unfortunately, when it came time to graduate, she failed her exams. Albert came in fourth in the top of his class out of the top 5 students. He wanted to marry her, but when he graduated from college in 1900, he couldn't find a job. Without having any job or employment, there was no way that he could support a wife and a family. So his goal when he finished school had always been to become a professor. But he hadn't exactly been a model student. His teachers refused to give him a recommendation to be a teacher. They thought he was a smart aleck and that he was not a genius. The next period of his life was really difficult. Albert struggled to find a way to make money. Not only did he fail at every career that he attempted, including tutoring, but even when he was offered the first lesson for free when he was a tutor. But his parents also disapproved of him marrying Mileva because she was 3 years older than him and she was very sickly. On top of all of that, his father's business went bankrupt and Albert had no idea what was he going to do. His mind was filled with limitless possibilities, but his future felt hopeless. Oh, what a sad ordeal. So that was chapter 2 from I Am Albert Einstein. I did skip a brief history of physics that I'd like to share with you. The Greeks were the first Western attempts to try and rationalize without using religion how nature worked, like the sun and the moon and the stars. And that started in the 600 BC with ancient Greeks. The Renaissance, which happened from around the 1500s and 1600s, is the time of Galileo. And Galileo is the person to have started modern science, and he changed the way that scientists explained why things happened and describing what was happening. The other big change was that he started using math to describe natural things that were happening around in our world. And his experiments were also helping us to see that those descriptions were correct. So there you can see Galileo with his invention and how he changed the way that we thought of physics. Another person to know is the beginning of the classical physics, where we learn about Isaac Newton, who was born in 1642, the year that Galileo died. He discovered basic laws of nature that are true throughout the entire universe. He discovered the 3 laws of motion that we will learn in science. He also learned about the universal law of gravity, which states that the bigger the object, the closer they are to each other, and the stronger the attraction between them. So here is your picture of Isaac Newton. That famous image of the apple coming down is how he kind of realized gravity, and that gravity is that bigger object pulling the smaller object closer together, the bigger object being our Earth, which then led to electromagnetism. So in 1752, Benjamin Franklin, as you know, used a kite to collect the charge from a thundercloud and to store it in a jar. In addition to showing a connection between electricity and magnetism, he figured out that the electrical charge can come in 2 types, a negative charge and a positive charge, with like charges repelling each other and opposites attracting each other. This opened up the world of electricity to future scientists. So these were the people that Albert Einstein was learning about and being excited about, and then he wanted to learn even more and make his stamp on light specifically and how we look and determine and explain light energy and how light travels. All right, thank you for listening to this chapter, and you'll get more chapters and more read-alouds to come.